Welcome to the podcast, Kylie. I'm absolutely delighted to have you on this afternoon.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Can't wait.
So I'm going to ask you the same question I ask all my guests. What's your money story?
So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You got me thinking around that question today. I was like listening to some of your previous episodes and I was like, what would I say? And I think the key thing for me, there's a couple of big things that come out of that. I think the money story for me is one is always around starting your own business. I think I was a high-flying corporate. I did 15 years in high-flying sales, so both in real estate and recruitment. And then I started my business. Oh, what a journey that's been. As they always say, a journey of a business is definitely a personal development journey, isn't it? And that's where you soon learn. I think about your money stuff is when you are building your own type of business. So I definitely have started to learn some stuff around my own money stories and my own money journey since starting my own business, which was never prominent when I was getting paid and earning really good sales figures and things like that. So there's a story around that in relation to my own personal one. But the other thing is obviously now that I'm the founder of Iconic Wealth for Women is why I started that. So, and that come about from working with incredible women over the last 5-6 years, helping them build their businesses online. So as you know, I love to launch people online, grow their online courses, programs, things like that. But what I realized was that there was some incredible women sitting there that weren't earning the money they should be earning. So one of my passions is helping women to break through some of those barriers to go, how can they make more out of their existing knowledge and skills? But importantly, then there's this other side of women that are earning loads of money and they're like, now what do we do with it? Yeah. And that's kind of how Iconic Wealth come about in relation to creating a community where we could just talk more openly about money, whether you're trying to build it yourself, grow it, or whether you're actually at the stage of like, okay, how do we invest? How can we do some philanthropic projects together? How can we, start investing more so that we can take some time out instead of, continually being in our businesses? So it's been quite an interesting journey and I'm learning along the way as well. But for me, it's closing some of the gaps that we've got. So especially in the UK, the thing that kind of kicked me to get started with Iconic, I'd been talking about it for about a year, was when I was helping a financial planner with her online program. And I was going through some of the stats with her. I was going through some of the statistics and 1 in 4 women in the UK are going to be in poverty in retirement. Mm-hmm. I was like, but how? Women are now starting to control more assets. We're starting to run businesses. We're starting to grow our income. So why are we going to be in poverty in retirement? That's the statistics from Age. I think it's Aged UK. And what I realized is we could end up in this kind of what I call the lottery syndrome, really, where we can earn good money, but a lot of us can't keep it.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't know how to invest it. We still shy away from things like investing. We shy away from understanding our pensions more, taking some risks with money. We're still very much conditioned not to necessarily do that. Yeah. And I think it was 40%, we invest 40% less than men do. But my saying is always, if good women earn good money, they do good things.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with that. We love giving it away. We love giving it back. But there is a side of it that we want wealth to be okay. Yeah. It's okay to have money. It's okay to keep some money. It's okay to invest money. And it's okay to put your own oxygen mask on before you sometimes help other people as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my money story and journey. And it's ever developing, I think, Leslie. I think, like you always say, it's a layers of onions that you peel it off, don't you? And it's like something else comes up. It's like, yeah.
And I think that's exactly it, isn't it? It is recognizing that your money story is something that is going to ever change, is an evolutionary process. And that is fine as long as you are open to being on that journey and to deviating off that journey, a different course, a different direction, then that's okay because you are forever learning. It's for those people who become stuck, who don't feel that wealth is for them, or who put a very negative connotation on the word wealth. Because I believe you have had some people that have struggled with the definition of wealth to them and therefore have not identified with what you're doing. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because even when I went to call it Iconic Wealth, a few people said to me, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want to call it wealth?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's wrong with wealth? Wealth is great. It's, it's creating the life you desire. It's spending time with your kids. It's, whatever you want wealth to be." But yeah, some of the backlash I've had, like, and not even backlash really, some of the comments and questions, like, we're putting an event on, and I've had some people say, "Oh, but I'm not wealthy. Should I come?" And it's like, well, yeah, that's the reason you should be there. But it is really interesting, the connotation, and this is the thing that I wanted to start with Iconic, was just starting these conversations to make the language normal, to help women just to go, wealth is okay. There's nothing wrong with wealth. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just what you want it to be. And, that for me is one of the most empowering things we can do, is if we can make some of this language, some of the jargon, some of the connotations behind money and wealth the norm, rather than being abnormal, and available to everyone. And Steph Taylor is the one that kind of really kind of rocked me with her story when I helped her build her program and where she's at now. But it was always one of the things she always defined herself by was wealth wasn't for her, was for other people. And that's what I started Iconic Wealth for, is to try and change some of that, to go, why isn't it for you?
Yeah.
Instead, let's ask ourselves the opposite question.
Yeah.
And what would you do with it if you just had a little bit more?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean just riches. It's like you said, it's changing that connotation around what wealth means. It could be that you get an extra 2 hours a week to spend with your kids. It's like, do you get to take that extra holiday and spend quality time with your family? Like, what is wealth to you? And I think a lot of it's changed very rapidly with everything we've been through over the last 3 years as economy and a climate and everything like that. I think more people are open and aware than what they used to be. I think we were just ticking over a lot in relation to just get up, do the norm, do that sort of thing. But I think life has kind of re-kicked back into gear, and people are realizing actually spending that time with their family was so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a conversation yesterday with a financial planner, funnily enough, and we were talking about how the language around financial freedom had changed, where up until relatively recently, financial freedom was seen as being, the domain of people who were inheriting significant wealth from family, or were winning, big on the lottery, etc. But actually, we are starting to reframe financial freedom as not necessarily being for people who have many zeros, in their bank accounts. It's actually a little bit like with wealth. It's an approach to something that is important to you, that defines a life that you want to construct for yourself, rather than somebody else's meaning, somebody else's definition of a particular word. And I think what you spoke about there in terms of wealth and more time, that financial freedom, is what I'm hearing more and more women talking about. They're not talking about it being connected to a particular number. They're connecting it to a choice around how they spend their time.
Yeah, and I think and that's another big shift, especially in the online space now industry. It's very much like, oh, I'm a 7-figure guru and all that sort of thing, which I've kind of definitely shied away from in the past. But I think that, but there is a money element. So what we don't want it to become, though, is we don't want it to shift so far back that it's not okay to want to earn money as well.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's the thing. It's finding the balance to go, look, if you want to go and make 10 million, go and make it. Like, if you're that driven and you want to do it, go and do it. There's, we want to encourage women to do that as well. But there is definitely a shift in relation to what financial freedom means. And I think the other thing is we're seeing so many people create it younger. Yeah. Like, the ones I talk to at the moment that are, they're earning 6 figures online, and you're like, they don't even think about how they're doing it. It's just like, you've got your TikTokers, you've got these guys are raking in some money. And I think, again, unless we change the financial conversation to go, well, that's great. We're already seeing, you're working with a lot of kids, aren't you? But, I've definitely seen some stories recently where, these 17 to 21-year-olds that are earning good money are fatigued. because they don't, the pressure, and they don't know what to do with it. And I guess there's probably a little bit of, you know, who do we help, who not do we help, you know, the pressure on family, I can imagine, probably quite huge. All those conversations, you know, a lot of people don't like to talk about their money because they don't want to be hassled about having to give it away all the time or do something with it. And I remember reading a story, I think it was 17 or 18 he was, and the pressure on him at the moment because he's earned so much money was unbelievable. Yeah. So I think we're in this really weird paradigm of, you know, there's still this side of the future where there's a lot of people that aren't planning for retirement. There's especially, like you said, a lot of women coming through that don't have any retirement plans, and they're by themselves. They don't have partners to support them anymore, or they're on their own journey or whatever. But then there's this other side of it that, you know, how do you just manage money? How do you control the emotions around it? How do you have conversations with your family? All of that is shifting and changing massively. Yeah. So I think we're in a really interesting time around what wealth really means. And like you said, financial freedom is just, I think it's just out the window. It's just a complete different paradigm, isn't it? To where even where we were, like you said, a couple of years ago, completely different conversation.
Exactly. And I think as well, you know, people talk about, you know, the dangers of social media, and they talk about how people can do the whole, you know, comparisonitis and imposter syndrome, etc. Yes, those elements are true, but what social media and the whole access to the internet has done as well is brought home to people the art of the possible. We now know that you don't have to have been born wealthy in order to create wealth. In fact, there are more people who are born in poverty that actually end up significantly wealthy than those who inherit wealth.
Yeah, so I think for it.
Exactly. So I think the internet, etc., has done good in terms of helping people to aspire to more. But I think that there is that lack of education and perhaps a lack of knowledge around who to trust to help people to know what to do when they have earned the money in the first place. And I think part of what you are doing is helping to educate women in a very, very safe environment, because I think for lots of us, we don't want to be seen to be asking the stupid question. Yeah. No question is a stupid question. If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. And I think what you're doing in encouraging people to be able to say, look, I know possibly I should know, but I don't. How do I? Where do I go to buy stocks and shares? How do I safely invest to be below the threshold that's going to mean more of it's going to be taken away in taxes, etc.? What's been your philosophy in putting Iconic Wealth together?
Yeah, I think there's two things. One, it's like you said, I wanted to start the conversations because I think you're right there. I think that even though we've got access to more information, I think actually a lot of people go into information overload, and they don't know where to start. It's like you said, who do you turn to? Do you ask your friends? Do you ask your family? And I think that was one of the things for me, was to bring together some trusted, and especially for me, women. It's like you said, why I did it for women in the first place was to bring some trusted advisors together, going, look, these guys have walked their walk for a long time. You know, they've been around it. They've seen different things in the industry. So at least if you've got a question, you can come in the community and ask it. But I think for me, it was very much the feeling of that it's okay for anyone, no matter where you're starting from. And, you know, in the book, you know, we obviously you're part of the book, which is incredible. And if you haven't seen it yet, go and check Leslie's chapter out. But the book itself, ideally, was, again, to just start inspiring stories, is start to get people to talk about their own money story. Because I think, like you said, the biggest thing that controls all of this is communication and conversation. And, you know, I noticed it definitely coming from Australia to here, you know, there is a stiff upper lip when it comes to talking about money and things like that. And I think that's the thing, that if we just become more open to conversations and it becomes more normal, like I did a piece recently in the Money and Finance magazine, and they were shooting a video around changing the language and the jargon in finance. And I was controversial. I didn't expect to get my video approved, because I turned around and said, I don't think you should change the jargon, because you have to understand the jargon. What you have to do is educate women to know and to be comfortable to go in and have a conversation around that jargon. Yeah. So you don't change the jargon. What you do is maybe make it accessible in a different way. So like you said, women learn differently. So it's like maybe you need to change the way you're educating women around that jargon, but the jargon itself can't change. You're not going to change your bank, talking about shares in a particular way. You're not going to change the industry language. It's not going to happen.
No, exactly.
But it's making people more comfortable to have those conversations and ask those questions.
Yeah.
To go, well, how do I get started? And busting this myth wealth that you have to have money to make money.
Yeah.
Because you just don't. Like, you can start small, and you can, we talk about investing, don't we, for like 25 quid a month. Like, that's how I got started investing. I just literally take it out my account. I don't see it, goes into a fund. But there's compounding beautifully. There's all different ways you can grow your wealth, and it's finding the things that are right for you as well, and the risk factor involved on what you're like as a person. Yeah,
I think that is the thing, isn't it? Because when we were at school, I don't think compound interest was taught in an exciting enough way. No. We all remember, doing the homework and the sums, etc. But it was never, ever anything I connected with at all. No. It was only when I was older and, my financial planner talked about compound interest, I suddenly go, compound interest?
Yeah, learn that somewhere.
School,
yeah.
And I think that is the whole thing, isn't it? Something as simple as compound interest is taught in primary schools, but it's not taught in a way that is engaging. No. And as soon as you can latch on to the power of compound interest, all of a sudden you can actually see what it means to you, the relevance to you, and it switches you on to the possibilities that are available for you.
Yeah, and especially too, like, compound interest has such a powerful message in the small steps that make a big difference.
Yeah.
And we all know, we talk about this a lot in business as well, because like in business, I see this so often with women that are starting businesses, they're growing, and they get something that works and they stop and they go to that next shiny object, and you're like, no, go back, do what you've done, but do it better.
Yeah.
And the difference you can make, like you said, one of the guys showed me this in Profit First, where if you just adjust one element, you can triple your business. Whether that's increasing the leads by 50% or, increasing your prices by 20% or whatever it is, can actually double your business and your profits over time. And that, for me, again, it's another element of what compound interest does, is where it grows. But it's also, if you leave it in or you adjust it slightly, it can make a massive impact to the end game. And I see that the same in businesses. It's like, don't reinvent the wheel all the time. Actually keep improving on what you're doing. And if most people have started businesses, you watch them. I love Marie Forleo, I do. She's one of the long-standing growth ones I've seen. But, again, all she did was a great program and then improved it.
Yeah.
My client Stephanie and that, they created a great program. They haven't adjusted the program. They've made it better every year. Now they've done $1 million in that now. And it's just like, people overcomplicate things a lot of the time, I think, as well. Is like, find something you enjoy, find something you're interested in, and then stick with it.
Yeah.
But stop swapping. It's like you said, that's where I hate that word. I can never say it. Comparatitis. That's it. That's the one. Comes in, because you're always seeing what someone else is doing, and you get out of your lane, and you're like, no, stay in your lane, stay doing what you're doing, just improve on it.
Yeah.
And we're very quick to switch around a lot of the times. And I think that's where, if you can apply the compounding effect to what you do in business and in life, it's the same. It's those small incremental steps make a massive impact on your end results.
Yeah, very, very, very
But
true.
You're right about it teaching, because I know you teach kids, and God, I remember doing that. I was one of the top math students and I didn't apply any of it. It's like you said, it wasn't relative. And that's the thing, I think, where I love what you're doing with teaching kids, because I think it's more relative to what they understand, but also how they can then apply it, how they can use it every day and start to apply it when they're younger. And oh God, I wish someone had set me up an ISA account when I was 15,
I know.
just put 10 quid in.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's the things we should be doing more of, is encouraging the younger ones, especially now they're earning as well. Like you said, where people are coming through and earning, it's just like, don't live to that means. Just stop, take it straight out your account. Don't even notice it's come out. And that's where I think, like you said, we should be having more diagrammatic here. If you just put this 50 quid in here and it does this in 5 years, this is what can happen. And we need to have more of those conversations, and especially with women. I think that empowering women around these types of topics and the kids is just incredible.
Crucial.
Really.
No,
it's why we do what we do, isn't it?
Absolutely. So what is your big vision for Iconic Wealth?
Oh,
well, but you can share.
Yes. Well, it's growing. It's interesting. But again, when I did it, it was quite funny, because I was at a turning point in my business where I love what I do. I love launching programs, and I'll continue to do that probably for the next couple of years. But I wanted to have some more fun. And for me, that's what started it. I was like, what am I missing in my business? So I'd come out of COVID, I'd got a bit bored. And I was like, what am I missing? And it's like conversations with incredible women around the globe. And like you said, don't ask me why I didn't start my podcast till now, because that would have probably solved it too. But it was more about, I just want to spark inspiration. I want to spark conversation. I want to spark ideas. So in a way, it started like that. So we have panel discussions, we have live training. We're now moving into the event scenario. So for me, again, it's like, how can we bring this to everyday women and go, look, come and join us for a day of inspiration. Come and join us for a day of ideas, things that might light your fire that you didn't even think about in relation to your wealth journey. And yes, the word wealth is in there, so ignore it and come and spend the day with us. But yeah, so I'm looking at, obviously, I want to turn it into I guess an events-based type community business. That's where we're going. Are we looking at an app maybe down the track? At the moment, I don't know. But at the moment, it's very much around, I want to be the Oprah of wealth, because I want to start conversations. I'm bringing in experts that have got the knowledge and skills. I don't need to be the expert at everything. This is about showcasing incredible women who have knowledge and skills that can help you on your wealth journey.
Yeah,
that's all it was ever meant to be.
Yeah.
And I just want to be the linchpin that brings these incredible women together.
Yeah.
And obviously I've got my own, I love online businesses. For me, it's the best leverage I've ever seen. You can scale fast, and I'll continue that conversation for quite a few years, I think. But for me, that's the big vision of Iconic, as if we can just change one more person's life. Around, that's for me. I love the little wins. I love listening to, I just got my first investment thing. I'm like so excited by that. I'm like, there's a couple of people that have just opened up ISA accounts in stock ISA. Like, yay, they're off and running.
Yeah.
So I'm always about if we can just change someone's belief, either in themselves that they can do it, or that they can literally learn something and then they can go and apply it. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, what popped into my head as you were talking there was, the people that were reluctant, to come to the event in September because they didn't feel, I'm not wealthy. Should I be there? Well, there are a number of mums amongst them. You might not be wealthy. You can learn how to start your wealth journey, but even better than that, as a mum, you can then encourage your child to begin their wealth journey sooner than you did. So that ripple effect is even bigger. And I love the fact that one of the authors, Della is bringing her daughter with her.
Isn't that crazy? Flying in from America to spend the day with us in London to talk about wealth, but she's bringing her daughter. Now that for me, and then again, there you go. That's the small things that just blow me away. Like if we can inspire her daughter just with one thing in that room, or she creates a connection she needed, or, she follows someone else's journey and go, oh my God, I love what she's done. Can I do it too? That for me is it just lights my soul up. And the fact she's flying in from America is even better.
Absolutely.
You know, that's just crazy. She bought both tickets. She bought another ticket for someone else to give it away as well. So, and I think that's the thing for me. This was always meant to be about community collaboration and just really sharing stuff that adds value, but it also just might get someone over the line to try something new or to think about something that has maybe been niggling, but they've never really been brave enough to go and connect with someone that's doing it or find out a bit more about it. And I think that's where, you know, we talk about so many different strategies, don't we? We've got property professionals in there. We've got money people to get over the money blocks. If you haven't talked to Leslie yet, get over some of the money mindset stuff, because it holds women back in a different way. It doesn't hold men back. Like it really doesn't. I've been in a world of millions of dollars worth of sales over 20 years, and men just sell differently. Men think about money differently a lot of the times. Now, not all the time. There's definitely men with their own issues around money. But I do find that we have to, with women, we've just got to get over the conditioning, the years of conditioning, culture, the family upbringing, all that sort of thing. And we're definitely seeing that with the younger generation. You know, there's definitely a change with the younger generation. But I definitely think our generation still got a long way to go.
Totally
you
agree.
know.
Totally
But it's that sort of thing. So we're talking money blocks. We've got people in there talking about building brands. Like building brand is so crucial to long-term wealth now. You know, if you need to ever pivot, if you ever need to change what you're doing, build some sort of brand. You'll always bring an asset into your business or your life if you can create some sort of brand, even if it's just personal for yourself down the track. Who knows when you need it? So I'm always about personal brand building, because I think that is one of your long-term wealth now. If you don't have it as part of your life, I think you're missing opportunities out there for sure. And, you know, talking about different strategies, we're talking about investing. So it comes from an array of angles in relation to kind of how to build a wealth journey, really, how to build your wealth journey that works for you. Yeah.
So talk to me about the iconic Wealth for Women, the first conference that's being held on the 14th of September. So just a few short weeks away from listening to this podcast. Tell me more so the listeners can hear what they will experience on the day.
Yeah. Fabulous. Yeah, I'm so excited because, again, you know, when I created Iconic, it was meant to be just for a community online. We'd see where it takes us. Then we got together and we created this book collaboration, and it's like there's 18 incredible experts in that book. If you haven't read it, go and get a copy of it. It's got, I mean, I had to re-sit and read it. It's funny, when I put it together, I didn't really get a chance to read all the chapters. And oh my God, I've sat there and nearly read it all twice again. So there's some incredible stories in there, personal stories, as well as strategic things and things you'll learn. And then from the book, I was like, well, I want to bring these women together. So that's kind of what started it. I'd always thought about having a wealth event, an annual one, but I wasn't quite ready for it. So I just went, let's do it anyway. And I figured the book was the one that was like, well, why not bring these incredible women together to showcase? So it's a mixture. We've got a few external kind of keynote speakers coming in that have been in industries for a long time, or they've been around money, or they've had their own wealth journey, to inspire and just create a different angle into what we bring to the table. But then most of the authors are going to be there, and we're having things like panel discussions where you can meet some of the authors and connect with them, ask questions. You know, we were talking about those questions. There's never a dull question or a wrong question. We want to encourage conversation at this event. It's meant to be interactive, and don't be scared. If that scares you, you can also sit there quietly on the sidelines.
Soaking it up.
Yeah, I thought someone the other day was said to me, oh, do I have to ask a question? It's like, no, you can sit there and enjoy it as well. But, you know, the goal is to have some interaction with some of the speakers. We want to make it as real as possible. So it's a one day, it's a full on one day from 9 till 5. You know, you'll come in, you'll hear some amazing speakers. You'll get to then join some of the panel discussions. I'm trying to tailor it as much as possible, so you can choose if you want to go and listen to a particular panel. We're just maneuvering that at the moment because we had a big change of venue. But ideally, you can come in, have some conversations. And again, the idea about is it for some inspiration. It's to learn some things. So you will definitely learn some, you know, different ways of doing things, maybe some different strategies for wealth, but also what wealth means to other people. So you'll realize you're not alone. I think that's one of the biggest things. After the book launch event, one of the girls come up to me, and I remember her saying to me, she wasn't going to come to the book launch. And she said, oh my God, I feel so at home now because I'm not alone. And that was just so empowering. And I'm hoping the event does the same. We're at a beautiful venue at Westminster Chapel. It's incredible. And really, it's just going to be a great girly day out. Like, that's the way I see it. It's a fabulous day out. It's going to have some inspiration, stories, tactics, strategies, but really a chance if you want to build your network. Like, that was the other feedback I got from the book, from when we launched the book, where some of the girls went, wow, these girls are amazing. Like, they wouldn't have connected with people like you before. Like, and I think that's the other thing is, for me, is just, you know, if you're not in the field, don't worry about it. Just come along for a day out of something different. There is something for everyone there. And I think that's the bit, again, if I can inspire a few people that aren't necessarily around that, to come in and experience a completely different day with some inspiring people. I think they'll just have a great day. It's just going to be good fun. And it's not a typical stuffy conference. I refuse to have it as a typical stuffy sit there in your chair all day type conference. We're trying to mix it up however we can without it making it feel like a festival at the same time. Because, you know, it's a serious topic, and we want it to be a fun topic, a fun day. It's not just about, you know, what wealth means or money. It's like, come and actually have a day and be inspired, learn, you know, create a connection, make a new friend. Like, that's what it's all about as well.
Absolutely. And I think it is that, you know, being able to create those right connections, even if they're not a connection you need in the immediate future. You'll be surprised a little bit later down the line, you'll suddenly go, oh yeah, I met that person at that event. I'm going to reach out to them. Or you can refer back to, do you remember when we met? And I know when I have ummed and ahed about going to a particular event and haven't gone, how much I am kicking myself afterwards. And we know it can be daunting to go along to an event where you maybe don't know somebody, but just reach out to me, reach out to Kylie. You know, if you're listening and you're thinking, I'd love to go, but I don't know anybody, reach out to us and we will look out for you on the day and welcome you very, very warmly, because we have been in that position over the years where we've had to step out of our comfort zone to go and do something that we know afterwards we will be thanking ourselves for taking that step to doing so.
Yeah, that is just one of the most powerful messages. You know, I mean, like you said, I mean, Della's flying into the US to greet you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, she's so bubbly, she's so exciting. But, you know, that it's like you said, there's 18 female experts there that just have a similar vision. You know, and that's the thing I think, again, I realized was the power of my network. It's like you said, I hadn't really ever tapped into my network in business. It's funny, it's the first time I've kind of really embraced it. And when I started going through, like, oh, you know, who do I want? What sort of backgrounds do I want? I realized how wealthy my network was, but not just because of what they do, but just because the knowledge and experience and the stories they have are their own. And that was, again, one of the big feedback we got from the book launch, was hearing why they do what they do, what wealth means to them. Is, I can guarantee it means similar to you. So like you said, if you're sitting there, they've been there. They've sat in that chair. They've maybe been at home going, oh, I can't really afford to do this. Can I afford to do it? Or they, you know, they've had all those stories of like, but I haven't started investing, or I haven't got my first property, or whatever it is. One of the ladies in the room's been there. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is like, you're not alone. And that is the message. If we can get that across. But yeah, we will welcome you with open arms. It's not going to be scary. You know, you don't have to be, there's no pressure to, you know, we're not going to make you dance down the thing or turn to your neighbour. No, we are going to get you to get to know each other, because that's what it's about. Like exactly. You said, the connections, I mean, those connections, a lot of them I made at events. Steph said to me the other day, she goes, do you remember when we first met? And I was like, I'm thinking, I'm just trying to think where we actually first met. And she's like, at an event in London. It was a property event one of our property friends put on. I didn't normally go, but I went, and that's how I met Steph. And, you know, she's been one of my biggest clients since, and, you know, and advocates in relation to Iconic. But, you know, that's where you just don't know who you're sitting next to. Yeah, and it's powerful. Like you said, it's so powerful. And the energy, I think about, and again, you know, this is why I didn't really want to do something just for women. You know, I've had a massive debate about that, haven't I, around, oh, but I'm doing it just for women. Why? I really believe in inclusivity, and, you know, I want to empower women to work with men and be with men and everything like that. And I really struggled with that. But there is something so powerful about having women energy in a room together. You know, and it's not about excluding men. It's not about hating men or anything like that. I hate that when people say, oh, does that mean men can't be? It's like, no, it's not. It's just a different energy. And I think when we're trying to break these money conversations and break some of these wealth conversations, we need to be in that energy to start it out, and then it escalates outwards from there, because it means you can go and have a confident conversation with maybe your partner, or you can go into a bank and have a conversation and be confident in holding your own. And I think that's where the empowerment sort of flows outwards from there. I think, I agree. Very much sure. Yeah,
totally agree. So how can people connect with you, Kylie?
Yeah, so I know there's going to be links around this podcast, because I know what you're like. You're very organized. But I hang out a lot on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn girl, so I am on LinkedIn most. Just find me under Kylie Anderson on LinkedIn. I'm pretty well always there. Obviously, we've got the Iconic Wealth for Women community. If you just Google iconicwealthforwomen.com, you will find our site and you'll find all the information on there. But come and join us. Just get into the community, get to know some of us as well. And like you said, if you're nervous about potentially coming to the event on the 14th of September, jump into the community first, say hello to a few people, get to know some people. We're going to start some threads very soon around, you know, where people are staying and who's doing what. So we're about to do that as it gets a bit closer. So do come and connect with us and just share with it, even share those fears, because again, it's a safe community and it's a safe space to share those as well. Like, what's your biggest fear around wealth? We'd love to hear it as well. So it's not just all about, you know, us being driven and positive. It's also come and share some of your fears, some of the stuff that holds you back, maybe. We'd love to help you through some of that as well. So, that's the best thing to do.
Brilliant. And all of those details will be in the show notes, including how to get tickets, how to access the community, how to buy the book. So please click on the show notes and everything will be there. Thank you very much for your time today. As you know, I love having these conversations with you. These are vital conversations to be having. And thank you for everything that you are doing for the community and for women and wealth in general. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.